Right, I think that's everybody, so I think we can get going. Welcome everyone to today's webinar, where we're going to be looking at Algo, so an overview, but specifically as well today on the analog to IP paging. My name's Anna Maria and I'm the sales director from ProVus, and joining me today I've got Ariel Posvolsky, who is logged on all the way from Canada, and Mike Greenwood, our business development manager in the UK. Are you there, guys?
Yes, we are. Good morning or good day, everyone.
Yeah. Right, I'll let you guys do the introductions for yourselves. I'm not going to introduce myself too much. I think most people here know who I am. So, Ariel, would you like to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Anna. Pleasure to be here. First of all, pleasure to be presenting and partnering with ProVus as always. I lead our customer success engineering team at Algo. In other words, your team with pre-sales engineers, post-sales engineers, solution architects, and we are here to make sure the deployment goes smoothly from planning to actual deployment. I've been working at Algo for over 7 years, and here we are today. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us today. So yeah, Mike Greenwood. I've only been at Algo for coming up to 5 months now. However, I have been in the UC industry for quite a few years. I've been in distribution, similar to Anna Maria, for maybe 20 years of my life, pushing and discussing and playing with UC platforms back in the day, the legacy platforms. So yeah, really looking forward to giving you an overview of Algo and hopefully making you a little bit more knowledgeable if possible. But yeah, great to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, and really good to have you on. This is our agenda for today. So we will have an introduction to Algo so that you can get to understand who they are and what they do, as well as their market insights. We will give you a full product overview as well, just to give you a bit of an idea, and then we will dive into the focus of today, which is the analog to IP audio. And then after that, both Algo and ProVus will give you a bit of information on how both of us can support you, whether that's with your deployments, partner programs and things like that, followed by a Q&A session at the end. Any questions you do have for us, there is a speech bubble on the right-hand side. Pop your questions as they come along, and we will then go through them at the very end. If you don't think of anything as we go along, that's okay. We will hang around for a few minutes at the end. So any questions, we will answer those. Before we jump into Algo, I will just give a very brief introduction to ProVus for those of you who don't know us. So we are a IP data comms and security distributor. We're privately owned, 25 years old, and based in sunny Huddersfield in West Yorkshire. The majority of our customer base are ITSPs, MSPs, and hosted resellers, and it's the wraparound service that we offer that makes us more than just a box shifter, and therefore the perfect type of supplier for these types of customers. As a business, we have what we like to call the 4 pillars of ProVus and ProVus, and ProVus is our online automation portal. So we've got the ordering pillar, which is where we've got our own in-house designed and maintained platform, which has live stock levels and allows you to place and track your orders. We then have the pre-configuration element of all devices, and that's from handsets to routers to door entry systems, as well as Algo, which is what we are here to talk about today. We then have the third element, which is integration. So all of our systems are integratable into via the API so that you can use your own systems for ordering. And then finally, we also have remote device management, so that all of those things that you bought from us, you can manage remotely from one unified platform. These are some of the vendors that we work with. Obviously, Algo is one of them, and you'll see, I'm not going to go through them one by one, but you'll see that we do, we specialize in IP hardware only. So we've got your main IP handset vendors, and we've then got bits around it. So we do IP direct and access control, IP tannoy systems, routers, network switches, headsets, and a couple of other bits. So we've really tried to just become a one-stop shop for you guys in the industry, so that you can buy anything that you may need to put together a full IP system. And this is our team. We've actually got an addition of a second office dog as well, who's unfortunately not pictured, but hopefully in a few webinars time we'll have an updated one. And now I would like to pass you over to Mike Greenwood, who's going to start with the introductions to Algo.
Perfect. So yeah, thank you so much. Just to really sort of thank the guys from ProVus, who we've been partnering with, I believe, for now 16 years. We've been working, very closely together. And I think one of the key reasons that Algo work with the guys at ProVus is their real, the ability to have that sort of full wrap, but also the service levels, but also the sort of technical account management that they bring to the table. We are in quite a technical industry, so these guys really, sort of sing and talk about our products in a really confident way. So that's why we love them. But yeah, great to see you. Just a quick introduction for you. If I can just get the screen to move forward. So yeah, for those of you that don't know Algo, so I guess we've been around for a long time, actually. I'm assuming we've got some hardcore UC veterans on the line, been coming into distribution, and ultimately, yeah, so we've been around since 1968, so more than 50 years. For those of you that have been in the telephony market, you might remember Algo. We used to do the door entry products for the Nortel product line back in the sort of 90s. So whenever you saw a rebranded door entry system on the wall there coming into a business, potentially it could have been an Algo system that's rebranded Nortel. So we're very proud of that, and that's really how we sort of got into the UC space and sort of moved forwards. So what do we actually do? For those of you who haven't come across us before, essentially we are a manufacturer based out of Canada, which obviously is great news for us actually at the moment, because being a Canadian company, there's a very good connection between the UK and Canada in terms of trade balances. So bringing stock into the UK is really quite easy. So I guess that's good news for you guys. But obviously, being a Canadian company, yeah, we've got a phenomenal technical team that support, both distribution, but also like to support, your end customers, you as integrators, as resellers as well. So that's really important to us to, support across the chain. It's a free service. We'll do whatever we need to do to really complement our products with your customers. So yeah, IP paging, alerting, intercom, they're the three sort of areas that we focus on. In terms of our products, they're all essentially SIP endpoints. All of our products will connect onto the network, and we'll talk about the benefits later on. I know that Ariel will sort of drill into, all that sort of lovely stuff later on. But in terms of our sort of go-to market strategy, we actually integrate with 80 platforms, so UC platforms, the likes of, Ring Central, 8x8, obviously 3CX. I know the ProVus guys are 3CX disti, but there's a whole array of stuff. But probably also where we're really seeing some traction at the moment is on the Zoom side, but also the Microsoft Teams side. We were one of the first organizations to bring the compatibility with endpoints directly into the SIP gateway with Microsoft Teams. We've been doing that for about 2 years now, I think. So we're extremely excited by that, and that does bring a lot of business into Algo, because I think we're one of the only partners globally, but I'm sure our competition will be hot on our heels. So yeah, there's a quick overview of Algo. We're extremely technical as an organization. We're really starting to push out into the UK and the global market, which is away from the US and Canada, where they've got their own teams. But I manage the UK, so anything you need, you'll have my details by the end of the session. Really user friendly. We love to work with you. Get our hands dirty and get stuck in. So I think what we wanted to try and do is just to sort of paint a little picture as to why we feel that, looking at our product line is quite pertinent at the moment, with all the sort of market changes, the disruption, the changes that we're seeing out in the market space. The idea of moving from analog to digital or IP is really starting to hit out in the market, as you guys, the UC players on the call here, you're seeing that happen regularly, but it's really starting to gain some traction. So if I can just give you a few UK market insights, you know, we're seeing a huge acceleration in the UK digital economy, even though we've been through, you know, an awful lot of hardship, you know, with you know, back in 2020 with the lockdown, etc. We're starting to see a resurgence and some really key numbers starting to come through. If I try and go the right direction on the slides. So yeah, look at this one. So 80% of UK enterprises are investing in digital transformation. So what's that really telling us? That's ultimately telling us that the market is actively moving. It's moving away from that legacy sort of market space to be able to adopt, you know, the new technologies that everybody's talking about. You know, AI. They're talking about CRM integration, talking about, you know, integrating with Teams, integrating with their platforms, you know, ERP systems, etc. You can't really do that with an analog-based system. So that's why we're seeing a lot of movement. And the market is telling us that we're going to see a huge adoption over the next 3, 4, 5 years. So now is a good time to get involved in that space. So yeah, I like that statistic. 60% of UCaaS adoption is from key sectors like education. Well, that really is going to play into our hands because, you know, our core market space, which we're talking about today. So the core market areas for us as a vendor and for you guys to play with ultimately is education, healthcare, manufacturing, government. They're the areas where we're seeing, you know, huge transformations. I appreciate, you know, maybe in the educational sector, you know, there's some you know, pockets are not quite as deep as other sectors. However, Ariel's going to talk to you a little bit later about Martin's Law, and we are seeing an absolute tranche of educational facilities, organisations come directly to us, whether that's, you know, a campus environment, you know, schools, small schools, because of the fact that the government are putting pressure on, you know, the education sector to really be alert and in the right space when it comes to emergencies. So yeah. Nice statistic, that one, and that really again plays. Ooh, I don't know what happened there. Let's just zoom down. Next one quickly, 43% year-on-year surge in cloud UC deployments since 2022. So look, when I first started with unified communications, you know, with the cloud adoption back in 2017, 2018, we were probably around sort of around 10% of adoption rates for, you know, proper UC platforms into the cloud. So, you know, we've really sort of moved, you know, at the beginning of the 2020s, we're around sort of 17, 18, 19%. We've now gone up, you know, all the way up to about, by the end of this year, probably about 30%. So, you know, we know statistically that we're in a good space to be able to, you know, push our wares, as it were. And just finally on the statistics that we're publishing here, UC deployments, you know, we've just mentioned that briefly, is currently at 31%. You know, that's going to go up to 56% by 2027. So, you know, we're almost doubling over a 3-year period, and we'll just discuss the reasons for that. I'm really conscious that, you know, we've got some experts here. Sorry if I'm sort of teaching you to suck eggs here, but ultimately, you know, we've probably got some newer people into the industry, so it's good to, you know, really talk about the challenges out there. Sorry, I've got a slight slippery hand there. So in terms of the UK market, the unified communications, UC as a service, you know, we're looking at 2025, we're looking at about a $4.3 billion market space. Wow, you know, we're moving to maybe double that, almost double that by 2030, you know, and that's a CAGR rate of 19.4%. So I'd like to think we are in the right space, and hopefully by the end of this webinar, we'll all be on the same sheet, as it were. But, you know, the key reasons for, you know, the educational sector, healthcare and government wanting to move on from on-premise, you know, analog systems is, you know, as we discussed before, it's around wanting to be able to deploy scalable systems, you know, that give them the ability to have that security, ability to be able to adopt, all the new technologies with AI. Everybody's talking about, the ability to be able to have contact centers, that are driven with AI. If you're not investing your time in that now, it's just accelerating, incredibly. I've come from a UC. I've worked with via Mitel, then worked with a more of a cloud version of those, our friends at Enfon. So, we saw that over the last 5 years, the benefits of cloud ultimately. So we're seeing, specifically IP paging and alerting really starting to ramp up. We mentioned about, the government, the healthcare sectors, really sort of pushing and becoming more aware of where the benefits are. But again, Microsoft Teams, which is a really massive play for us, the ability to be able to integrate directly with Microsoft Teams straight into the SIP gateway without needing, something called an SBC, which is very expensive to manage. It needs to be licensed, and it is very, very technically challenging. So with our products, they all link in really, really easily into Microsoft Teams and to Zoom and to 3CX, all those lovely platforms that you guys are selling. And the feedback in the last 5 months as I started working with a lot of end users, they love our products because they are incredibly easy to deploy. And we'll talk about that in 2 seconds. And really, we've been banging on about this thing called the PSTN switch off. That's going to happen in 2027. You guys are going to really, the guys that are selling UC applications out there and systems, you're going to really start to come up against, that challenge of migrating someone, from an on-premise system, an analog system, over to, a cloud-based system. Ariel is going to take you through all the ways that we can do that shortly. So here we are. The opportunity is just beginning for our technology. We are, as a UC cloud, we mentioned is around 32%. Algo with our paging, with our endpoints, we're looking at adoption rates of around 18 to 20%, and that acceleration is just about to start to happen. So it's just the beginning, folks. In terms of common applications that we work on a daily basis, if we just get the slide going a little bit quicker. Voice paging is at the core of our products. So ultimately, the ability, little scenario, you walk into the supermarket and you're at the till, you've got all your products, somebody drops a bottle on the floor. You're going to need to get a message out. So, we're not using telephones to be able to push that message across. We're going to need to use our paging system to be able to get Jim with his bucket over to aisle number 2 to be able to, clear all the, the broken glass, etc. So voice paging, which is across all sectors, but as we mentioned, predominantly for us, it's going to be in education, healthcare, in particular manufacturing, because they're very, very noisy environments. And as we know, a lot of UC applications allow you to be able to page through the handsets. You're just not going to get the noise, the clarity through into the organization. Let's just say there's a potential gas leak, for example. You've got to make sure that the technology out there is instant, it's clear, it's intelligible, which means we can understand what's happening. So voice paging is at the core for us. We've then got, alerting, whether that's with alerter, or you can see the device we've got up there, which is in a school. That's a two-way device, which essentially allows you to give interchangeable alerts. It could be a school where you've just got a daily routine. You've got the daily bells going, daily messages, so it's all nice and unfirm and fairly light colors, but as soon as an emergency or a lockdown scenario happens, this thing comes alive, and it's got essentially it's got a very clear screen that's bright. It's got a array speaker on the side of it, and then it's got the alerters, visual alerters, which is essentially very important when it's a very noisy environment. And just finally, one of our sort of adjuncts we tend to focus around is secure door entry. So these are the 3 common applications that our organization tends to be faced with. If you ever come up against this sort of scenario and you need any support, you know where to come now, hopefully. I'm just checking on the time. So yeah, we've gone on for about another 5 minutes, and then we'll hand over to Ariel, if that's okay. So in terms of our portfolio, we talked about it, but our portfolio essentially falls into 3 or 4 different buckets. So if you can see my little mouse here, we start off with the speakers, which is part of the IP paging system. All of our speakers, essentially will sit on the IP network. They will potentially connect through to the UC platform so that you can then page out through them. We've got ceiling speakers, we've got wall-mounted speakers, we've got external horn speakers, and they all serve a different purpose. But the key with our speakers is they've all got the same application to be able to administer and manage them. So, having worked in UC, I've spent years with many different types of applications on a single platform, and that's really difficult. You need to be skilled up in so many different areas. With our products, there's a single common application that allows you to manage, implement our technology, and that's across the speakers, the intercoms, and so on, and it's really easy to use. So yeah, we've got an array of speakers. We've got our intercom products, which we mentioned briefly, secure door entry, whether that's for entering into a premise, whether it's a school, an office, or a gatehouse, for example. So yeah, we've got all the capability there, but our core, if I'm really honest, is based around the speakers and the visual alerters. The visual alerters down here on the left-hand side, these are extremely bright alerters, and they work in collaboration with the speakers. So you can actually get the visual notification that there's an incident or something going on, but also the audible through the speakers, and they sort of work in harmony. And then just very quickly, we've got our paging adapters, which really bridge between the analog world and the IP world. We recognize that schools, have a challenge with budgets. So the paging adapters essentially will allow you to really link, and there's a little bit of a protection on the investment. If they've got an analog paging system, we can actually make sure that you don't have to have a massive, great big outlay on day one, but then you can bring in our technology slowly over time. And as I say, Ariel will take us through that. Then we got some accessories, for emergency button pressing, for example. We can have a little accessory in a school classroom that you put under the desk. If there's an emergency, you can push that button, and that will then link into the speaker system and the visual alerters and so on. And just finally, the management of the systems. We got a couple of ways of managing. You could either manage with our global application, which is just about to be launched, which is called the ADNP. That's the Algo device management platform, and that allows you to manage multiple sites with all our we've got sites with 5,000-6,000 endpoints to be managed, and you can't really do that locally. You need a very effective management tool. Okay, so we sort of talked about how we fit into the market space. There's lots of competition out there, which we're happily talk about, when you get some opportunities. But the key for Algo, and when we come into the market, there's 3 key areas. So there's got to be a critical need. There's got to be a requirement for a security event, like in a school, like in a manufacturing plant, that wants to be able to set off an alarm. There's a gas leak, etc. So there's got to be a critical need in the organisation. It's not for everybody, but also in terms of compatibility with UC platforms. We've mentioned that is our sort of go-to market strategy. That's how we interface our technology with the UC platform. And the bottom there, the technology itself, the ability, all the benefits of IP, the IP world, to be able to power over Ethernet the devices, so they don't need any local power. They are powered over Ethernet. Their IP devices sit on the network, which it's got a very simple application to manage. So they're the 3 sort of core areas that enable us to fit into the market space moving forwards. And there's a couple of areas that I just wanted to talk about. So Algo products, all of them are certainly the speaker technology anyway, is wideband. So What does that mean for you and your customers? You're probably utilizing wideband on your UC platform on the handsets, exactly the same when it comes to speakers. We need to make sure, because we're working in emergency type environments, that the actual message that's being played across the speakers is intelligible. And the only way we can do that is by using wideband. So G722, which is the codec, which ensures the quality of that page. Some of you might know, when you go into a sort of sports arena, a few years back, when a message came across or was broadcasted, essentially you get a lot of echo, and it'd be very difficult to decipher what that message was. That's where wideband really comes in. We also utilize multicast, which enables us to be able to really limit the amount of UC licenses that you guys have to sell to your customers. So for every IP endpoint that goes onto the network, potentially they might need a UC license, for example, if it's Microsoft Teams. However, using multicast, we can actually negate that and reduce the amount of SIP licenses or UC platform licenses right down to a low level, so keeping the cost down. Multicast is a really good network and technology that allows us to limit the cost to the customer. And finally, we talked about PoE. I think we all know the benefits there. Okay, so the final slide from me, you'd be pleased to hear. Before I hand over to Ariel, that's going to take you through some specific examples, why should we be considering paging? Why should we be putting that on the radar? Well, number one is, if your customers have an emergency situation, which is likely to happen now moving forwards, with the advent of Martin's Law in education and outdoor spaces, it's going to be a question that really gets asked of you moving forward. So come and work with Algo, and we'll support you on that journey. In terms of security systems, we interface with a lot of security systems, so broadcast systems. If there's an emergency, we can integrate with third-party systems to be able to broadcast that emergency alert out, whether it's through the speakers, the alerters, or via a text message, which these systems offer. So we need to think about that for lockdown and those types of eventualities. So if your projects involve schools, healthcare, warehouse, or manufacturing, they're our core 4 areas. And finally, if we can just get that slide working, boom. Just going to talk about that once more. Obviously, installing on a single network is going to bring costs really down. And then you'll see with Ariel, when he talks about our speaker technology, with our satellite technology specifically, that's going to ensure that the cost is at as a limited amount as possible. So yeah, there we go. Quick overview from me. Hopefully that's resonated. I'll be around the UK, so please reach out to me via our good friends at ProVu. But I'll just going to hand over to Ariel now, and we'll catch up with you in about 20 minutes. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Let me just make sure. There we go. Okay, so I'm able to control the slides. That's excellent. Folks, so given what Mike presented in the overview we have, what I would like to discuss is, first and foremost, why are organizations migrating IP? Why are they looking for IP audio, right? Public announcing has been around for decades and decades. This is new, not something new, but the technology here is new, okay? So as you can imagine, with new technology comes an array of benefits that we can get out of it, and this is going to be the core of our conversation for the next couple of slides. We then will also get into the technology. We'll do a bit of a comparison and look how we can actually get that done. Okay. And quick disclaimer here: there are multiple ways to go about doing it. There's not going to be a one solution fits all, which is probably a good thing, because this is really adaptable and customers have different needs as well, as you're all aware. So I'd like to break this down in a why, how, what, right? So first and foremost, why are organizations migrating IP for their public announcing? Couple of reasons. Number one, standardize the tech stack, right? They're going IP across the board, analog systems, whatever they may be, are being phased out. The systems that still exist, that are still analog, are being left behind. They are disconnected from the rest of the environment. That obviously creates a challenge in maintaining the technology, keeping track of it. The people that installed those systems, that were aware of how those systems worked, are all retiring. They are no longer around. They've moved on to different areas in the business, what have you, creating a big challenge. Secondly, obviously, there is, like I said before, an array of benefits to migrating IP. Faster, more reliable, flexible communication, and nearly endless ways of using them and setting the products up. Supervision, of course, is also key here. It is great to have speakers and visual alerters, IP displays, whatever it may be available, but what good is that if they're not working, right? We need to have a way of monitoring them for availability. Going back to analog systems, there's no such thing, not possible. With IP endpoints, that is very, very much possible. How are we actually doing this? We are able to integrate the legacy system into an IP system by bridging the connection via paging adapters. This is usually the starting point, not necessarily the where this is going to end. It could be, and we will discuss that. Again, there's not going to be a one solution fits all here, right? So the benefits, like I said, it's all about better audio, more flexibility, capability of doing various type of alerts, scalability being at the core of this as well. We'll see that this can be as simple as one endpoint, one device, and this can go to any number and combination of devices. Overall, the cost of maintaining an IP system will be a lot lower. Okay, obviously there's going to be an investment in getting there, but over time, it will be a lot lower. These systems are extremely reliable. We're talking no moving parts here. We're talking, boards, computer boards and diodes and whatnot. So there's no moving parts. They tend to last a lot longer. So a bit of a busy table here, but I will break it down into 3 areas. And what we're doing here is quickly having a comparison between IP and analog paging systems. So looking at that first chunk there, deployment, 3 features worth mentioning: provisioning and configuration. First of all, way easier. We are talking network configuration, network provisioning. Why is that beneficial? Because we can do it from anywhere, right? All we need is a computer in front of us, and I could literally be sitting in Canada and configuring a system that is out in the UK, for instance. Super beneficial. Instead of having to dispatch people to the site, we're talking, obviously, there's charges when it comes to getting people back and forth. We're talking, gas, commuting, and so on. Secondly, power. We don't have to worry about AC adapters, 110, 20 to 220 volt outlets. We're talking PoE power over Ethernet, single network cable. Every single device will need that one Cat5, Cat6 cable that will give us all we need, which is number 1, network connection, number 2, power. There are various types of PoE, PoE+, PoE++. Some of our devices will be on one or the other, depending on how power hungry they are. For the most part, our devices use just regular PoE. A few of them will do PoE+ and PoE++. I did mention the wiring, like I said, common infrastructure, it's beneficial. Cat5 cables and network cables are obviously widely available, nice and easy to use, and very reliable. When it comes to management, firmware upgrades. First of all, when it comes to analog systems, there's no such thing. There's no firmware upgrades. There's nothing. What you get out of the box, that's what you have. IP endpoints are upgradable. This is beneficial because we get new features, we get improvements, we get possibly bug fixes and security enhancements as well. Network supervision, I briefly mentioned that. ensuring our devices are up and running, are operational, and being proactive in doing so, letting the devices warn us, or not the devices, I should say, the system warns us when a device, let's say, happens to fail. Why did it fail? Did someone just inadvertently unplug a cable? Did it just, get what was it mounted outside? Did it get water damage because it was not properly sealed? Again, various possibilities here. But supervising the devices, ensuring they're operational is critical. Automation as well. So what kind of automation we get on analog systems? Quite limited. There is some, but pretty limited. And we're talking adding more and more components. Sometimes we are talking different manufacturers, different products that don't quite operate well with each other. In our case, it's all built in, so we can automate bells, schedule announcements, alerts based on different triggers. So also super helpful and advantageous. Last chunk there, connection and integration. Zoning. How do we go about zoning an analog system? Well, you have to get, number one, you need a zone controller. You need something that's going to run that zoning. Secondly, you need to get up and ladder. You need to physically recable the speakers. That is a problem. That is challenging. IP endpoints, couple clicks, we change the zoning very, very easily. There's no need to rewire them at all. Multicast. Multicast is a technology used for scaling the solution, number one, to any number and combination of endpoints. Very light in terms of network traffic and extremely scalable. This can grow from one device to an entire airport if we need to cover it or whatever it may be. SIP, of course, right? We are talking UC here. All of our endpoints are SIP compliant, meaning they can integrate into any UC environment that supports SIP. Mike mentioned about 80 platforms, which is correct. I just want to also acknowledge the fact that while that's the number that we advertise because these are the main platforms out there, could be the smallest platform ever, as long as it supports SIP. Might be someone that we've never heard of. That's okay. Does it support SIP? Well, if it does, we're in good shape. And wide compatibility, of course, Mike mentioned compatibility with different mass notification systems. Very true. Of course, we also have a public API available to be used, letting anyone create custom applications and nearly endless use cases. So, like I mentioned, the deployment can be very flexible. How do we go about doing it? Well, assuming there's an existing system in place, generally speaking, what we're going to do is create a hybrid environment at first. We're going to reuse the existing analog system, and we may add more components to it or not. Eventually, this might be a bridge to a full AP environment at some point. There is no right or wrong. This quote unquote bridge is not something that is, it's not going to be a problem to keep that for years and years moving on. There are limitations when it comes to the quote unquote bridging, because the bridge is IP. The far end system, still analog. Can we supervise analog speakers? No, we cannot. So there are still limitations, but this is a very nice and simple way to get moving. Maybe there's an immediate need. I need to get going because I moved on to a UC platform. I did not account for my paging system, and now it's down. I cannot use it. What do I do? I'm in a pinch. Okay, so this is a nice, easy way to go about doing this, and also pretty inexpensive. So this is in the most simple form, and be aware, there are various components that are missing here. You see that there's no network switch here. We're not talking firewalls. We're keeping very simple the basic components that we care about in the sense of the conversation here. So imagine I have a traditional analog amplifier in place. I have analog speakers. I just moved on to a UC system. Think 3CX, 8x8, Ring Central, Zoom, Microsoft Teams. We could name keep naming them for quite a while here. The bridge is going to be one of our paging adapters. In this case, we see an 8301 model. The 8301 is our most popular paging adapter for a good reason, for extreme flexibility. We see that this can be used in tons and tons of ways. How do we actually go about doing this? The 8301 is a PoE-powered SIP endpoint. It's going to register into your UC platform. Or it can be used in different ways, of course, but commonly speaking, it's going to register into your UC platform. Can it do only paging? No, it cannot. It can do paging, it can do emergency alerting, it can do loud ringing, scheduled announcements, we can play background music through the system and automatically switch back and forth when the higher priority announcement kicks in. Again, it is near endless. And then last but not least, how does the 8301 connect to the amplifier? It provides a balanced and isolated line output. It's that simple. It's an audio output specifically made to connect into those traditional analog PA systems. Looking at of course, an example of what the wiring would look like here up close, we can see the back of the 8301. This is a fairly small device, by the way, a little bit bigger than your hand-ish, so quite small. As we can see, the terminal block line output, we also do have a terminal block relay output if the amplifier requires that, assuming it doesn't have Vox. So relay output is basically an on and off switch. It's that simple. We close the circuit, we open a circuit. Not necessarily the only way to go about wiring this paging adapter to an existing PA system. It depends, but commonly this is what you're going to see out there. And then of course we have our amplifier that's going to be powered, that's going to have its traditional 70 volt, 100 volt, 25 volt output to our good old analog speakers. Again, fantastic solution here. Do keep in mind those analog speakers will always be analog. We cannot supervise them. We cannot simply change zoning on them. There are limitations in place, but it is a very nice and reliable way to go about making this move. Now, what could a hybrid IP environment look like? So a bit of a busy slide here, and I'll have a couple other elements showing up as we go. But just looking at what we have for now. So on the left side, we have our traditional IP phone, poly model in this case, could have been, an E-Link, audio codes, traditional IP phone. We do have our UC environment, could be hosted, could be premise-based, as long as it supports SIP. We also do have our 8450 console there, which is a new product that we're coming out with in the next couple of weeks here. It's been in development for quite a while. You may have seen it around there. It's been promoted, but it's now officially releasing. We're very excited. It is our first input type of device. This is meant to be sitting in a control room, in a security room, and it's going to be your main point of control. Various ways of setting it up, completely customizable as far as actions, layout, password protection, and what have you. It's an amazing device to complement the system because it provides that visual element that so many people crave. Moving on to the right side of the diagram here, we can see that we have our 8301 connected to the phone system, right? Quote unquote connected, not physically, but registered via SIP. The 8301 is then multicasting over the network to various other IP endpoints here. We have an IP horn speaker, an IP ceiling speaker, an IP visual alerter, and even a third-party IP phone. As you notice, this is a third-party device. Algo does not manufacture IP phones. That means every single device, being Algo or not, as long as it supports receiving RTP multicast and it supports one of the codecs that we're using, could be G711, G722, which is preferable to Mike's point, as he mentioned, high definition codec and whatnot, or even Opus. As long as it supports that, we are in business. So you might be wondering, well, this is not a hybrid deployment, this is a full IP. Yes, sir, it is full IP. You're absolutely right. But here's what we can do as well. We could have an amplifier connected to the 8301. Well, what if I have 5 amplifiers? That is okay. you have one paging adapter per amplifier. There are, again, I cannot provide examples, every single example here, because it would be near endless, but this could look a million different ways. Just keep that in mind for the time being. With that, we can zone them out. We can zone these devices out. Perhaps I only want to page a couple of my speakers and nothing else. Perhaps I only want to page my amplifier and nothing else, and so on. Again, keep in mind, the analog speakers themselves generally cannot be zoned out. There are ways to go about doing this. I'm not going to get into it. Happy to have a conversation later on if anyone ever has the situation. There are ways to go about doing this, but I'll save that for the future. Another benefit I want to acknowledge here when it comes to IP speakers is the fact that they have a built-in microphone. All of that. Mike mentioned our IP displays have a built-in microphone. Very true, and so does our IP speakers. There are a couple of reasons for that to be there. One of the reasons is what's called ambient noise response. So the speakers may, I say may because you may choose to enable this or not, but they may be configured to listen to the ambient noise and adjust their volume output accordingly. This is fantastic, right? Because imagine, is there ever an environment that the volume is constant throughout the day? Probably not. A manufacturing facility is going to be quiet in the morning. It's going to pick up as the day goes. A hallway in a hospital, in a school, could be extremely quiet at times, could be extremely noisy at times. That is a problem because either we are going to be too loud or too quiet. Well, what if we can auto adjust? What if you can specify a range? Minimum volume is X, maximum volume is Y, adjust within that interval. This is fantastic. The second reason for the microphone to be there, just to quickly mention, is for two-way communication, if desired. Just a quick close-up of the 8301 and all the different ways it can be used. These are not physical connections, or some of them are, but for the most part, they are not. What we're looking at here is on the right side, all the cloud communications. So again, unified communications, mass communication platforms like SingleWire and Formacast, and many others. Our hosted cloud management platform that Mike also mentioned, called ADMP, the Algo Device Management Platform. Down in the south, features like the built-in event scheduler, API available. On the left side, multicasting, of course, as I mentioned, to any type of device out there, as long as it supports multicast. Every single Algo device will. Could even be a third-party device, as long as it has support for this type of technology. And then up in the top, we're looking at all the physical connections that we might have. We might have the 8301 here connected to an amplifier, analog PA system. We can have an audio input source for music streaming, let's say. We can have a panic button attached. We can have a microphone attached for quote unquote my rainy day. Well, UC is great, but it's all cloud-based. What happens if I lose my internet connection? Again, loaded topic here. I'm not going to get into every single possibility. There are several, but one of them would be to have your traditional microphone in place. As long as you have power, as long as your LAN is up and running, your LAN, right? No connection to the internet. As long as that's running, I can still make announcements. Hopefully no one will need that, but it's nice to have, it's peace of mind. I also want to acknowledge the satellite speaker technology that we have. Mike brought that up, and the reason for this to exist is to provide a sweet spot between full AP and analog. And this is way more on the full AP side, by the way, just a quick disclaimer here, but it is a little bit of both. So what is the benefit is cost reduction. If you think on traditional IP technology, every single device is consuming an network port. We are talking running a network drop, that costs obviously money, right? We're talking running cables, and accounting for all of that. Network drops do get expensive. We are also talking switch ports. Every single device is taking up a switch port. Well, those Cisco switches do not come cheap. Those big 48 port enterprise switches, and nothing against Cisco, it could have been, any other brand, Ubiquiti or what have you. Same thing, those big switches, they are expensive. we can make the math here and figure out that each port is costing us 300, 400, 500 pounds, who knows. So it does get quite expensive. How does this technology works now? We have the main speaker, which in this case for the ceiling type of speaker, and this is not the only option available, by the way, but for this type of speaker, you notice that there's a main speaker called an 8198, and then there are satellite speakers called 1198s. The 8198 is the true IP endpoint here. It's a PoE plus powered IP speaker, dual amplifier inside, full 16 watts of audio power available, and this can be spread across up to 4 speakers in total. The main plus 3, they get wired to each other. Single Cat5 cable input and output is that easy. The satellite speakers are fully managed. We're able to monitor them for availability and ensure they're up and running. So if you notice, with as little as 1 network drop, which is connected to the 8198, we have up to 4 speakers running. So we're talking a 75% reduction here in network ports and network drops. This can be very, very significant if we're talking a large deployment. And it doesn't even have to be that large. If we're talking 10, 15, 20 speakers, that right there is going to be considerable savings. If we go up to 100, 200, then we are talking thousands of pounds. And last thing here, I want to talk briefly about regulatory compliance and specifically Martin's Law, which has been rolled out in the UK, I understand. So quick overview, Martin's Law creates a legal duty for venues to plan effective response to terrorist threats. That's how they wrote it. What is effective response? It's quite open. This is a bit unfortunate in my opinion because it does put the duty on the venue, on the business owner, and it doesn't quite specify whether that you have an appropriate response system or not. But one way or the other, obviously having a system that allows me to communicate with my customers, my staff, whatever it may be, my attendees is important. So a PA system that is capable, that has all the flexibility, that can be used for my day-to-day non-critical announcements as well as for my critical announcements is key. One way that we can achieve this, for instance, and again, there's no right or wrong here exactly because the law is quite broad, but something that we can do here is have panic buttons available. Those panic buttons can be connected to an IP endpoint from Algo. Could be something like this, this IP display, could be an IP speaker, etc., etc. And with the push of a button, not only we can, of course, change the content on the screens to notify of an emergency, might be a silent panic button perhaps, or maybe we want this blasting across the entire facility, and also trigger a call to our emergency services, our first responders, with perhaps a pre-recorded message. We have a situation developing at site XYZ, please send help, again, whatever it may be. They would even have the ability to listen into the environment after that pre-recorded announcement place. Maybe they want to silently hear the environment and hear what's going on as there's help on the way, hopefully. So that's a quick overview of Martin's Law. Sorry I went a little bit long here, but there was quite a bit of information, as you can see. Mike, I'll pass it back on to you for the last couple of slides.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks very much for your time. We're coming towards the end here, so hopefully it's been of use, but we recognise you've taken a lot of time out of your day, so many thanks indeed. Just a quick summary really, in terms of partnering with Algo and ProVu. We talked about some good things today. We're talking about the overall performance of our products, in terms of the capability, which Ariel's mentioned, the satellite capability, the ability to be able to turn up and down the volume, those types of applications which are essential. We've also got some design consistency. So ultimately, if we go onto that slide, thank you. We've got a team of tech guys, that are there to really help you build a bill of materials. So, when you're looking at some of your complex scenarios, or it doesn't even have to be complex. If you've got an opportunity and you'd like to discuss it with us, we can bring those through to our friends at ProVu, and then we can bring in, if they haven't got the expertise, which I suspect they have, but it's always good to bring the manufacturer in with slightly larger opportunities. So feel free to do that at any point. But and just moving up, authorized integrated program, like every manufacturer, we want to try to expedite and increase your skill set rapidly to be able to sell our hardware and applications. We've got the AIP program, which is an fully automated program which brings up the sales and technical training for you. We've got a very good online system that can help you, along with some human beings that can actually talk to you about product as well. But the AIP program itself brings all sorts of enhancements. We can work with our marketing team. It's all free of charge, the resource there, so we can do sort of co-marketing, for the right type of opportunities, co-branded opportunities, etc. So, come and work with us on that side. Also, demonstration gear. The best way to get understanding this type of technology is to use it in-house and to play with it. So, for the right type of opportunities as well, we can get engaged with some proof of concepts, but at the same time, we'd love you guys to play with the technology, use it in-house, become skilled up that way. We also, get lots of opportunities that come directly to us, which we tend to refer into our friends at ProVu. So, if you're on the AIP program, then potentially we'll be able to roll out some opportunities to you. So the more you engage with us, the more you'll get ultimately. So we appreciate, it might not be your core business, but as one of my colleagues says, do you want fries with the burgers? That's the saying that he uses quite regularly. But also we will give you early access to the 8450 that Ariel mentioned, the console. We will give you exclusive access to this technology before it actually comes live, and we want to make sure it gets out there and it's been tested properly. So that's another benefit. And then just finally, when it comes to sort of global management of the applications, of the hardware, ADMP is that tool that's going to allow you, the integrator, to be able to manage at a multiple level your customer base. So we will give you exclusive access to that, and there wouldn't be a charge to you as the integrator. So work with ProVu to get onto the authorized integrated program. That would be fabulous. But yeah, look, thanks very much from me. Hopefully you've gained some valuable insight throughout the session. If there's anything we can do to help, please reach out, and love to hear from you. Many thanks indeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike and Ariel. Really good, some interesting insights there, and I hope everyone has found that beneficial. As Mike said, we've been working with Algo for many years now, and the support they do provide to our resellers is honestly second to none. So do get involved. They'll always be happy to help. I'm just going to very quickly, before we move on to the questions, I've just got one slide here just to give you a bit of an idea of what we can do to help you with your Algo deployments. So to start with, we've got pre-sales technical advice. So we've got experts within our sales team that you can just pick up the phone to. They can talk to you about the product. They can look at site plans with you. They can jump on calls with you and your end user as a representative of you. And we've got that same support with Algo as well. We can also do pre-configuration of those devices. So if that's something you're not familiar with, or you just want to get it out of the door quickly and send it direct to site, then we can do that here from the ProVu warehouse, and we can send it all either white labeled or with your branding on it direct to the site that it's going to. We can also do on-site surveys and on-site installation, and that is all white labeled. So whoever we send to site can be there to represent you or represent ProVu or Argo, whoever it is that you want them to be for the day. You can also send your own engineers if you want them to reserve just for a learning aspect, or whether you just don't have an engineering arm and you want to use them ongoing, then you can. We could also do remote installation with you. So if you do know what you're doing, but you think you may need a bit of assistance, especially if it's one of your first installations, then you can actually book time to have ProVu's engineer dedicated for an hour, 2, 3, however many hours it is you think you might need to be there on the other end of the line and do it all with you. And then finally, we can also, obviously we've got the technical support, and we'll support you with any existing setup and integration, as well as everything we do with you going forwards. So if you want to know any more about those, just feel free to get in contact with myself or anyone else at ProVu. And now I shall move on to the questions. So we have had a couple of questions that have come through whilst we've been on, and Ariel and Mike, any that are for you, which I assume most of them will be. I'll let you guys jump in as you see fit. The first one that's come through is how do you find the IP address on a remote site?
On a remote site, well, the IP address is going to be local, of course. It's a local IP address that is not publicly accessible. How can I access it? Well, you could have VPN access or some other means of getting into the local network. That is certainly a way. And from that point on, there's network scanners and so on that can be used. If we're talking technical team that would have access to switches, DHCP scope, etc., those are also ways. Now, that all said, a better way of go about doing this, because it is problematic to have VPN access to those sites. Many customers do not want that for a good reason, and also it's an onus on you to have that kind of power and that door into their system, right, into their environment. With that in mind, the ADMP platform that we have, or hosted management platform, management supervision, control, etc., you can do it via ADMP. So what we can do is zero-touch provision the devices into your ADMP account, specifically into your tenant, because you might have various customers and you want to have them fully separate into their own tenant accounts, but you can have still control over the top dog account and see every single subtenant you have. So through ADMP, this is the easiest way to go about doing this. You don't even need to know the local IP, because it's just going to ZTP into ADMP, and from that point on, you can configure everything on ADMP and just push it to the device without any kind of VPN access or what have you.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully that answers the question. We've had another one that's come through. Guys, I don't know if you can see this because there's something a bit long in here, but basically customers after some documentation on connecting. It's a 1240 public address amplifier, MS Teams operator, connect from Gamma, if that makes any sense to you
I'm
guys?
assuming that's a fire alarm panel of some kind. Does that sound right?
No, it's a tannoy they've just responded with.
Oh, tannoy. Okay, so well, it's a tannoy is a PA system. Each system is different. There's no short answer here as to, hey, connect this cable here, that cable there. We need to evaluate. We are happy to do it. Work with us, work with ProVu. Let us know what systems you have in place, how are they wired. We may have questions to get to an answer. But we can most likely can be done. I cannot 100% say yes, it can definitely be done, because again, each system is different, but 95%, if not more, yes, it can be done.
Great, thank you. And we've also been asked, how does your paging systems integrate with other emergency notification systems?
There's custom integration created. So we are, as you can all see here, we are platform agnostic. We are not working specifically with one UC platform or one mass notification platform. We try to work with them all. That doesn't mean we have specifically, when it comes to mass notification systems, we're not talking SIP. There's custom integration that is built, and we have a good array of them. There's always new platforms out there. We are always willing to partner with those. If it is a platform that we don't have any kind of partnership with yet and no integration, more than happy to evaluate that. If you let us know, hey, we work with this platform here, it is big in vertical XYZ, whatever it may be, we're happy to discuss with them and evaluate the possibility.
Thank you. We've just had another question about adding ADMP before shipping. I'll be honest, I'm not too familiar with what that is.
So ADMPs are Algo device management platform that was discussing the hosted
Okay, yes.
platform. Yeah. Well, it's extremely simple. So imagine you place an order of ProVu for 1 device, 2 devices, 10,000 devices, whatever it may be. You'll be given the MAC addresses before the devices even ship or as they are in shipping to you. With those MAC addresses, all you need to do is input that into your ADMP account. There's going to be a ZTP menu there. You just drop those MAC addresses in there and you map them to a redirect configuration file. The reason why I say a redirect configuration file is because this is meant to be a nice and short configuration file. We're not touching SIP settings, volume settings, zoning settings, none of that. We're simply touching a few parameters that get this device into ADMP. So once you have that mapping created, and you ship them to the site, or as soon as they're first plugged in, as long as they have internet connection, they will reach out to our ZTP server. It's obviously all encrypted, it's TLS 1.2, mutual authentication user certificates, and all that good stuff. And you'll basically knock on that door and say, hey, I'm MAC address 1234. Do you have a file for me? And hopefully there will be a match. We'll get that file back, we'll apply it, and that will get the device into your ADMP account automatically. And from that point on, you can go ahead and configure any other settings.
Okay, great, thank you.
No problem.
And we've been asked about costs as well for the device management platform.
For ADMP?
Yeah.
So our authorized integrators get that for free. That is a good call, going back to Mike's point on the authorized integrator, one of the many benefits. So if you are using this and providing this as a service to your customer, you can get this for free by joining the Algo authorized integrator program. That integrator program, by the way, does not cost you a dime. It is completely free. You just got to go through some training. It's all on-demand training. You have access to our team from that point on, and I mean, you would have no matter what, but you have expedited access and various other benefits, as Mike mentioned. From the end user perspective, let's say if you prefer not to touch this, you prefer not to get involved, but your end user wants to run ADMP, they can. I need to double check, to be very honest, what the MSRP in the UK is. So just to give you a ballpark, MSRP in the USA is $10 per device per year. Okay, so we are talking 100 devices, we're talking $1,000 a year. That's, again, MSRP, what the end user will be looking at if they choose to use it themselves.
That's great, thank you.
Probably just a quick point here is that is the only licensed product that we currently have in our portfolio. None of the speakers or any of our technology needs any Algo licensing, which I think is very important.
That is critical. Thank you for the reminder, Mike. That is critical. No other device needs any kind of licensing of any kind when it comes to Algo. Firmware upgrades are available free of charge. Support is available free of charge, and so on.
Wonderful. And another question that's just come through is, can you trigger pre-recorded announcements from a SIP phone?
Absolutely. It can certainly be done. So what that looks like is you register an extension at DAD to the device, SIP, and so on and so forth. The phone system just sees that as an extension or as a DAD, but as you register that into our device, you're going to choose to register as one of 3 kinds. It could be a page extension, which by nature will auto answer and open a voice path. It can be set up in different ways. You can have a feedback eliminator type of feature, etc. But again, in the simple form here, auto answers and opens a voice path. Another type of extension they can register is called an emergency alert extension, which, as the name implies, has behaviors that tend to this kind of situation. And just to complete here, I did mention 3 kinds. The third one's called a ring extension, which is generally used as a night bell or as a loud ringer.
Okay, thank you. We've not had any more questions come through, so what I'll do is we'll hang on for a minute or 2 just in case there's any more coming in, and if not, we'll finish. But there's the QR code there for any project registration and I'll also just quickly flick back to our contacts page in case there's anybody that you want to speak to. I did see a note from somebody on there wanting to take a particular topic offline. So I will get in touch with you, and yourself, Ariel, and Mike, I'll include you where needed, if that's okay, because I think we could do with your help on that. And wonderful. Oh, I have had one question just come through. This is more of a ProVu one, asking if there's costs associated with the pre-configuration that we do. Yes, there is, but it isn't much. And ultimately, you know, it's something that's going to save you a fair bit of time and money, but we can do it quickly for you, whether that's 1 unit or 100 units, you know, we can do that piece of work. So if you've got any, we do have a standard fee, but if you've got a large project as well, then we can look at that separately. Okay, I think we can safely assume that that's probably all the questions for today, but really good to have you all that joined. And Mike and Ariel, really thank you so much for doing this with me today and for everything that you've put together. It's been really good, really useful. Even I've learned a few more things today as well. So thank you for that. And I look forward to more inquiries coming through.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.